All right, strap yourselves in, because today we are taking a deep dive into the truly disturbing case of John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown.
Yeah, it's one of those cases that just stays with you.
It really does, and we're going to try to get to the bottom of, like, what made this guy tick?
Right.
How did he manage to fool everyone for so long?
Yeah.
And, of course, the devastating impact that he had on his victims and their families. The good thing is we have, like, a ton of different sources to pull from for this deep dive, right?
We do. We've got articles, court documents, personal accounts.
Oh, wow.
So we can really try to piece together a complete picture of, like, what happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes it so fascinating.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not just like one person's perspective. We have all these different angles.
Exactly. It's like a puzzle, right? And we're trying to put all the pieces together to see the bigger picture.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things that always draws people to these cases is the questions that they raise about, like, human nature, the nature of evil.
Like, how could somebody do this?
Yeah.
How could they live a double life for so long?
Right, exactly. So let's just, like, start from the beginning. Gacy's childhood.
Oh, yeah. That's...
Far from perfect, right?
Yeah. Definitely not a happy childhood.
Yeah. What was going on there?
Well, his relationship with his father was really strained. His father was very abusive.
Oh, wow.
And Gacy himself had a heart condition.
Okay.
That kind of kept him from doing a lot of the things that other kids were doing.
Yeah.
So he always felt like an outsider.
Ah, so we can kind of see how that could contribute.
Yeah, definitely.
To some of the, psychological issues, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, obviously not excusing his actions at all, but...
Right, of course.
But it helps to understand how somebody could end up going down that path.
Yeah. It's like those early experiences, right?
Absolutely.
What was that thing about the head injury he had as a kid?
Oh, yeah. That's a detail that's always stuck with me. He was knocked unconscious on a swing when he was a kid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it caused a blood clot.
Oh, gee.
And he experienced blackouts for years after that.
Like passing out?
Yeah, passing out. And it makes you wonder if that trauma, like, physically to his brain could have played a role in his later violence.
Yeah, I mean, it's that nature versus nurture question, right?
Totally.
How much of this was, like, pre-programmed and how much was his environment?
It's such a big question in criminology.
Right, it is.
Can we really separate those things?
Yeah.
And in a case like this, it's hard to know for sure, right?
Right. But, I mean, it's something to think about.
Yeah, it definitely hangs over the whole story.
It does.
Yeah.
So even with this difficult childhood, it seems like he had a pretty normal adolescence.
Yeah, relatively. I mean, he went to school, he had friends, he even had some early homosexual experiences, although it seemed like he was really struggling with that, like trying to reconcile those feelings with his desire to fit in and be accepted by society.
Yeah. It was a different time back then.
Yeah, definitely. Much more difficult to be open about those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then things get kind of weird.
Yeah, they do.
When he starts working at a mortuary after high school.
That's a big red flag, right?
I mean, it's not the most, like, typical teenage job.
No, not really.
Not the kind of thing you see on a resume every day.
Definitely not.
What was it about that was so disturbing?
Well, there was this one incident, he later admitted to getting into a coffin with the body of a teenage boy.
Oh, wow.
Embracing it, even, like, caressing it.
Okay, that's pretty creepy.
It's super creepy. And you can't help but wonder, right?
Yeah.
Is this a sign of something darker?
Right. Like a fascination with death, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a pretty disturbing thought.
Yeah. And, I mean, necrophilia is extremely rare, and it doesn't automatically mean that someone is going to become a murderer.
Right.
But it's hard to ignore that detail.
Yeah.
Knowing what we know about what happened later.
Right. It's just one more piece of the puzzle, right?
Exactly.
And then, to think that this is all happening while he's trying to build this image of a successful businessman.
Oh, no, it's crazy, right?
An active community member, the guy who dresses up as a clown at parties.
The guy everyone likes and trusts. And underneath it all, this darkness is growing.
Oh, yeah.
It's the double life that makes this case so disturbing.
Absolutely. Did you know he actually shook hands with Rosalind Carter?
Oh, yeah. The first lady at the time.
Unbelievable. Right.
It really is. It shows how deeply he was able to infiltrate seemingly normal society.
It's terrifying, right?
It is. It's like something out of a horror movie.
Totally.
The friendly neighbor, the guy who throws block parties,
right,
turns out to be a serial killer.
It really makes you think anyone could be capable of anything.
Yeah. And that's what's so scary about Gacy.
It is.
He was the monster hiding in plain sight.
Yeah. And that's how we got away with it for so long.
It is.
It's chilling, right? Like, you have this outwardly normal guy, but this darkness is just, like, festering beneath the surface.
Totally.
So when does Gacy actually cross the line?
Well, his first known murder
was
in 1972. A 16-year-old kid named Timothy McCoy, who was just passing through Chicago, ended up at Gacy's house. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just a tragic, tragic story, you know, a young life just cut short.
Yeah. And I think it's so important for us to remember as we go through this, like, every one of these victims was a real person.
Absolutely.
You know, with a family, with dreams.
With hopes, with a future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All stolen from them.
It's what makes this case so hard to stomach, honestly.
It is. What were the details of McCoy's murder?
Well, it's pretty chilling, honestly. Gacy initially claimed it was self-defense, like that he woke up and found McCoy in his room with a knife.
But I mean, come on.
That wasn't the whole story at all. Later on, he admitted that he completely misread the situation.
What do you mean?
McCoy had actually set the breakfast table for 2.
Oh, wow.
And was probably just going to wake Gacy up. It really just highlights, like, the victim's innocence in all this, and also the twisted way Gacy's mind was working.
It's almost like he was trying to justify.
Totally. Like trying to convince himself that it was okay, what he did.
Right.
Which is something you see a lot with serial killers. They dehumanize their victims. They rationalize their actions.
And distance himself.
Exactly, to try and protect themselves from the horror of what they've done.
Oh, absolutely.
And this was just the beginning for Gacy. I mean, he would go on to kill at least 32 more young men.
It's crazy how we kept it going for so long.
It really is.
Did anyone suspect anything?
Well, you know, there were some missed opportunities. One that really sticks out is the case of Jeffrey Rignall, who actually survived.
Oh, wow.
An attack by Gacy. He was lured to Gacy's house.
Oh, gosh.
Chloroformed, tortured.
Oh, jeez.
But somehow Gacy let him go?
What? That's insane. But, I mean, at least he survived.
Yeah, thankfully.
Right.
He's one of the few who can actually tell their story. But what's frustrating is that Rignall went to the police.
Oh, no.
And they didn't believe him.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
It was, sadly, a recurring theme.
Oh, I bet.
Many of Gacy's victims were young men who were gay or perceived as gay.
Right, and this was the 70s.
Exactly. And back then, their disappearances weren't always taken as seriously as they should have been.
That's awful. So societal bias really did play a role.
Sadly, yes. And Gacy knew how to exploit that. He often targeted runaways.
Oh, yeah, people who wouldn't be missed as much.
Exactly, those struggling to find their place.
Right.
They were seen as less important, more disposable.
It's just awful that these societal issues just create these vulnerabilities that, like, predators like Gacy can exploit.
It's a chilling thought.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
So eventually, I mean, the bodies had to, like, start piling up.
Yeah.
How many were there in the crawl space?
When the police searched his home, they found the remains of 26 victims.
Oh, my God.
Just imagine being one of those officers.
Oh,
having to dig through that crawl space, knowing what you're going to find.
It's horrific.
Yeah.
So we talked about Timothy McCoy, Jeffrey Rignall.
Right.
Were there any other victims whose stories, like, really stick out?
Well, the case of John Butkovich is particularly striking. He was a young man who worked for Gacy's construction company.
Oh, okay.
And they had a dispute over back pay. And shortly after that, Butkovich disappeared.
It's crazy to think that he would just kill somebody.
I know.
Over something like money.
It shows how little he valued human life.
Totally.
But Butkovich's parents actually suspected Gacy right away.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But their concerns weren't taken seriously by the police.
Wow. So all those years, all those crimes.
Yeah.
And he's burying them in his crawl space and getting away with it.
It's unbelievable.
What finally brought him down?
The disappearance of 15-year-old Robert Peast. He was last seen at the pharmacy where he worked, telling a coworker he was going to talk to a contractor about a summer job.
And that contractor?
John Wayne Gacy.
Oh, wow. So the investigation must have been different this time.
It was. Peast came from a stable, well-connected family who immediately reported him missing.
So the pressure was on.
Absolutely. They wanted answers, and they had the resources to push for them.
I mean, it's kind of a sad truth, but it sounds like Peast's social standing really made a difference.
Yeah. It's uncomfortable, but it seems like his case was taken more seriously.
Right.
Than some of the others.
Makes you wonder if some of the other victims would have been found sooner.
Yeah, it's a question that hangs over the whole case.
It does. But at least the investigation led them to Gacy, right?
Yes, thankfully. They put him under surveillance and quickly found evidence linking him to Peast. And then they got a warrant to search his house.
And, well, we know what they found.
We do.
26 bodies in the crawl space, 3 more buried elsewhere, and 4 dumped in the Des Plaines River.
It was the end of his reign of terror.
It's crazy to think about how many lives he took.
It is. And how many families he destroyed.
It's mind-blowing. Like, they find all these bodies and it's finally over.
Yeah.
What was going through Gacy's head? Did he confess?
Oh, he did. He gave a full confession, laid out all the gruesome details of how he did it.
Oh, wow.
He would lure his victims with promises of work or money.
Right.
Then overpower them, often used a trick with handcuffs.
Oh, geez.
Really chill in the level of premeditation involved.
And he tortured them, right? Before killing them?
He did. And sexually assaulted them.
Oh, this is awful.
It's a nightmare. And what makes it even more disturbing is that this was all happening in a regular suburban neighborhood.
I know, right?
Just like shatters your sense of security, you know?
Yeah.
You think these things only happen in like dark alleys or something.
Right, exactly.
But this was someone's home.
Yeah.
A place where people should feel safe.
Totally. So what happened after they arrested him?
Well, he went on trial in 1980.
Yeah.
His lawyers tried to claim that he was insane, but the jury didn't buy it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
He was found guilty of 33 murders and sentenced to death.
Wow. And this is where that whole killer clown thing really comes in, right?
Yeah, when he was on death row, Gacy started painting.
Oh, yeah. What did he paint?
Clowns, mostly. Lots of clowns.
Really? That's bizarre.
It was. It's like he was trying to, I don't know, control his narrative or something, even facing execution.
Right, like rewrite history.
Yeah, or create this alternate reality where he's this harmless clown, not the monster everyone knows him to be.
I mean, talk about messed up psychology.
It is. But whatever his motivations were, Gacy spent 14 years on death row,
Okay.
appealing his sentence, until he was finally executed in 1994.
Did he say anything like last words?
Oh, yeah, very Gacy. His last words were, "Kiss my ass."
Ugh, what a jerk. No remorse at all.
None. Just pure defiance to the end.
That's so sad.
No.
But even after all of this, after his death, there were still so many unanswered questions.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, 5 of his victims are still unidentified.
Oh, wow.
Even with all the advances in DNA technology.
That's heartbreaking, you know, to think that there are families out there who still don't know what happened to their loved ones.
Absolutely. No closure, no chance to really say goodbye.
It's a tragedy that continues to affect people even now.
Yeah. It really highlights the lasting impact of Gacy's crimes, how they ripple outward, touching so many lives.
And I read somewhere that some people think he had help. Like, he could have done all of this alone.
Oh, yeah, that's a theory that's been floating around for years.
It makes sense, though, right?
Yeah.
With that many victims, and, like, he had a life outside of killing.
Right, he had a business, he was active in the community.
Exactly. Like, when did he have the time?
It's a question that a lot of people have asked. And while there's no concrete evidence that he had an accomplice,
Yeah.
there are enough inconsistencies and things that just don't add up to make you wonder.
Yeah, for sure.
It adds another layer to this already complex and horrifying case.
It really does.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question is, will we ever know the full truth about John Wayne Gacy?
It's possible that we never will, but what we can do is learn from what happened.
What do you mean?
Well, for one, it's a reminder that evil can wear many faces. Gacy was a respected member of the community. He was charismatic. He was involved in charity work.
Yeah, it's a reminder to always be vigilant, right?
Exactly. We can't always judge a book by its cover. We have to trust our instincts. And if something feels wrong, don't be afraid to speak up.
Absolutely. And of course, we can never forget the victims. Their stories are what make this case so impactful, so heartbreaking. We have to honor their memories by continuing to seek justice, by learning from what happened, and by working to prevent these kinds of tragedies from happening again. Well, this has been a truly chilling look into the dark world of John Wayne Gacy. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, stay curious, but stay safe.